Hi.
Hi, this is Jay Stange calling in. Good evening, everybody.
Hi, Jane. Jay, I'm going to put you on mute, okay? But welcome. (6:02). So I think we can get started because I know the mayor and town manager have to get to a council budget meeting after this. So good evening, everyone. I'm Catherine Deviney, the town's energy specialist, and this is the first kickoff meeting of the West Hartford Sustainability Advisory Group. It's being conducted as a virtual public meeting in accordance with the governor's executive order. Members of the public may watch this meeting on West Hartford Community Interactive via a YouTube link or at westhartfordcommunitytv.org. I'm going to share my screen to show you. Can everyone see my screen okay? So our agenda for this evening was posted in advance and is as follows. I'd just like to remind everyone to please be polite and keep yourself on mute unless you're speaking. We're going to have a couple of places in the agenda to stop and ask questions. And we prefer that you ask your questions out loud rather than typing in the chat since this meeting is being broadcast. Catherine Bruns, our town recycling coordinator, is going to be taking minutes, and the slides for tonight and the minutes will be posted on the town's website after the meeting. So with that said, I am going to turn it over to West Hartford Mayor Sherry Cantor.
Thank you, Catherine. Thank you all for volunteering your time and for stepping forward to serve on. I think this will be an incredibly interesting group, but I also think that you're going to do really important work to guide us into the future. I always thought about sustainability in sort of two ways. For me, it was sort of economic and environmental. And I always thought of it sort of as these planes, and you know, it just making sure that things are able to keep in a way that doesn't suck up too much either resources or energy or effort in certain
Yeah.
You know, to sort of to keep going. But when I actually went to a Sustainable CT meeting early on when Sustainable CT was just getting going, and they really did completely turn to, for me, provide very much wider view of what sustainability is. And so many universities have been working on sustainability. Now, this was a while ago, and I've come to learn so much more about it. But sustainability is everything. It's really everything that we touch. And for I think for all of you, you probably know more about it than I do. But the 4 pillars of sustainability that I think Sustainable Connecticut falls under is human sustainability. Again, these pillars: social sustainability, economic sustainability, and of course, environmental sustainability. But how interwoven, and how they all are and how they interact with each other is so critical in all that we do, in every decision that we make. And so I think when you are talking about the becoming more sustainable, goals of sustainability, what the council should be weighing and talking about when we make decisions, whether they be zoning, whether they be how we our solid waste, how we remove solid waste, transportation, all of those things, education, cultural engagement, affordability, everything, health, everything. It all is, again, in this, it falls into these 4 pillars, which all intersect in very, very exciting ways. I think West Hartford has done better than most communities in Connecticut on some of these issues. At least it's been in the forefront and it's been worked on. And I want to thank both Catherine and Catherine for their incredible work and commitment. Especially Catherine Davini, I've worked with for 10 years, and she was really a new. It was a new position for us and sort of new for Connecticut. And now most communities have more than a part-time person that is committed to clean energy and sustainability issues. So, I mean, some of the goals about this task force is that we're going to see the very valuable suggestions and work come through this group. And my guess is this potentially could morph into a commission that will provide us with guidance in West Hartford's governance for a very long time. So that's my kickoff. And again, I want to thank you very much. We don't have just a budget meeting. This is budget adoption night. And to me, it's one of the most important nights that a governing board does for their organization, and us for the town is adopting our annual budget that to me makes good on the investments that we our community is committed to. So anyway, I want to again thank you for your work, thank you for stepping in, thank you for volunteering, and thank you for your passion on sustainability. And I'll give it back to Catherine.
Thank you, Sherry. Thank you very much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to come speak to us today. I did see Matt Hart, our town manager, on the call. Is he still on? And Matt, would you like to say anything?
I would. Thank you so much, Catherine. Good evening, everyone. My name is Matt Hart, West Hartford's town manager. Thank you, Mayor, for your comments, and thank you and your fellow council members for your leadership in helping to get this group up and running. A couple of additional thank yous. I'd also like to thank Sustainable CT, Alyssa and her colleagues for their tremendous leadership over the past several years, helping to get the Sustainable CT program up and running. It is so valuable to us, those of us who work in local government, because it helps provide a set of best practices that we can adhere to, but it also establishes a network of peers and colleagues that we can work with, that we can learn from, and share, what's happening in our respective communities. And that's certainly a great thing. I'd also like to thank, as the mayor did, our tremendous team of Catherine Davini and Catherine Bruns, who will be helping to staff this initiative. I know they live and breathe and believe in what they attempt to educate the community on. It's not something that they just talk about, it's something that they embrace and believe in. And then last but certainly not least, I want to thank all of you. I want to thank you for your time, for lending us your talents and your time over the next several weeks, over the next several months with this task. You know, we look forward to putting together another application to Sustainable CT. I know that's going to be one of your charges to assist us with that, but as well as providing us with other recommendations as to how we can progress as a community. We've done a lot of good things from my perspective over the years, but there's so much more we can do. And I would ask you to challenge us on how we can go further and how we can progress and become more sustainable over time. So Catherine, I appreciate the opportunity just to share a few words with the group, and I look forward to touching base with you some weeks down the line.
Great. Thank you very much, Matt. And I hope this evening's budget adoption meeting goes very well. Awesome. So thank you. I'm going to share my screen again. Maybe I'll just leave this agenda up here now. So, so we've just had a welcome from Mayor Sherry Cantor and Town Manager Matt Hart. And so next on the agenda, I'm pleased to introduce Alyssa Norwood, who is one of the amazing staff at the Sustainable Connecticut program. And as well, she is a West Hartford resident, just like yourselves. Alyssa?
Thanks so much for including me at your kickoff meeting tonight. This is a really exciting moment. You know, as Catherine just mentioned, I'm a West Hartford resident, so I have the pleasure of doing these kinds of presentations with frequency, but rarely in my own community. So I just want to start off by telling you a little bit about myself before I put on my organizational hat. So I moved to West Hartford in 2004 for graduate school. I'm a graduate of UConn Law, which is still right up the street from me. And I lived in a multifamily rental property right off of Farmington Avenue. And I now have 3 children. And it was right before our oldest started kindergarten that we moved a whopping quarter-mile up the road from our multifamily into the home that I now live in. And I was reflecting before tonight, you know, why are all of us here? Why did we choose to live in West Hartford? And it's an interesting thought exercise. You can do it yourselves, but in thinking for myself, I had a lot of things I wanted out of life. I wanted to be within walking distance of a park. I wanted to have access to lots of treescape, not necessarily vast forests, but to see trees on the streets. I wanted a place that was walkable and bikeable, that my children, as they grew up, could navigate and be able to access all of the amenities of living in a community without necessarily being dependent on me or my husband for transportation. We wanted a robust downtown, but access to trails. Diversity was really important to us. So I mentioned I have 3 kids. 2 of them are at Whiting Lane Elementary School, and 1 is at King Philip Middle School. And I remember being blown away as a parent at my first open house when I was told that 34 languages are spoken at Whiting Lane. And I'm delighted and grateful for that experience. And, you know, I also reflect on opportunities for growth in the town. You probably each have your own list. I think about our cultural and racial ethnic diversity, but it's not necessarily reflected street by street. I can't say that the diversity that I celebrate at the school is reflected on the street that I live in. I wish there were more opportunities for urban agriculture. I wish that more people used the robust public transit system that we have. So, you know, as you think about why you're sitting here, Sustainable CT is a place to reflect on all of these questions. And, you know, this is deeply personal, right? These are our lives. These are our children's lives. This is the future. And Sustainable CT has a vision where every single person in Connecticut can go through that same personal exercise. I just shared a brief part of my narrative and think about what do I want? And to make sure that every one of our communities are thriving places in which everyone has choice and ability to manifest this sustainable life, really broad broadly defined. So sustainability, Mayor Cantor kindly mentioned that she has a broader conception of what sustainability is. So, we'll reflect on that a little bit tonight, but it's not just about the environment. It's broader than that. So I'm going to put a PowerPoint up in a moment, but before I do, I don't want to lose seeing all of your faces. And I'm sorry we're not all in a room. I was really excited. We were like tantalizingly close tonight to being in 3 dimensions, but here we all sit, and that's okay. If you could each put up a finger, so it's going to be on a scale of 1 to 10, will like look very Sesame Street-esque. So a 1 is you've heard of sustainable CT, like that's a phrase that's familiar to you, but because you signed up to be here, but you don't know anything else about it. And 10 is you're intimately familiar with the program and you're probably going to do other things while I talk, and that's totally fine. I appreciate the multitasking on Zoom, so you can like do your 1 to 10 thing. And there's like more than one box, so keep them up because I'm going to scroll. This is going to help me. Oh my gosh, this is great. Like, you're so diverse. Okay, cool. So for the people that put up 2 hands, I know you're going to be partially listening. And again, that's great. I hope you'll still be with us. The one-handed people, the 5 and under, definitely pay attention because there's a lot to say. But I hope everyone will walk away learning something new. So I'm going to share my screen. And one other fun fact of the night. So your town manager, my town manager, Matt Hart, was a co-chair of one of the original Sustainable CT working groups that helped draft the program, which is very exciting. So I talked about myself personally. Professionally, I'm a program manager at Sustainable CT for Certification and Innovation. I'm part of a really small but dynamic team, and we are housed at Eastern Connecticut State University out in Willimantic. So what is Sustainable CT? Sustainable CT is a voluntary certification program for towns, right? So West Hartford doesn't have to do this. The 121 municipalities who are registered and participating in the program out of the state's 169 don't have to do this, but everyone wants to do it, which is really amazing because we have this really exciting vision, which I'll read because I think it's worthy of reading. Sustainable Connecticut communities strive to be inclusive, innovative, and collaborative. They recognize the natural environment as the foundation that leads to the health and well-being of all people and the local economy, and they're committed to equity and creating a shared community vision. So that's why we're all here. We want to create great places in Connecticut for everyone. The for everyone is a really important piece. Equity is a key pillar of our program, which we'll talk more about as we proceed. So I'm going to zoom up a little bit more. Our tagline is about local actions creating statewide impact. But this is an international picture I'm showing you. So why am I showing it to you? This has never been more timely. And if you're all here, you're a self-selected group of people who thinks that sustainability is important and probably have for a long time. But I think more people than ever now do as a result of the pandemic. And this graphic on the right makes this really interesting link between the impact of climate change and human health. And when we think about the scale of devastation on all levels, not just health-wise, but economic, social, emotional well-being that the pandemic resulted in, it really, amplifies the importance of this work, that when we think about climate change is going to continue to have really profound impacts on human health, and is a reminder of both our shared vulnerability and our interconnectedness. We all breathe the same air. It doesn't matter what town we live in. We all cohabitate this planet together. So, may we, as we move forward from the pandemic, be reminded, one, of how quickly we all changed our behaviors as a result. So that should give us all hope, right? Because so much of managing sustainability and promoting sustainability is about behavior change. And 2, to be reminded of the ongoing urgency, because even as vaccines are here, numbers are declining, we can move about the world in a safer way. We're still in crisis, right? It's not just a moment as a result of the pandemic, but there's more to come. So your time here is really important. Also, I won't spend our time looking at it now. And Catherine, you mentioned that these slides would be available. If you've never seen the 3-minute YouTube video, Pale Blue Dot, Carl Sagan has written this beautiful narrative talking about our smallness within the vastness. So I see some thumbs up. It's an actual image of a satellite that's zoomed at the Earth, and it zooms backwards, and it's really profound to contemplate our smallness within the vastness, and to understand at a really visceral level that we hope and we know intellectually that there are probably other planets out there like our own, but we haven't found them yet. So for now, this is what we have, and the profound responsibility of safeguarding it. And then different people are inspired by different things. So that's for the left-brained people, right? Like we have, I don't know, there's a lot of Catherine's going to do something with numbers later. I won't spoil the surprise. But for the right-brained people that are staring at the artwork and are like, I don't want to watch a science video, to also, whatever it is that connects you or inspires you, let it drive you in this work. This is, it's actually a 7-panel painting. I only have the top 2 because I couldn't fit them all, but it's rooted in the creation story. But this artist, Yael Harris-Resnick, I love her work and this sense of like ascending and reaching to something. So make sure you connect with that, because there's also some boring stuff in the presentation. I can't help it. There's like numbers and technical stuff. So I wanted to start like big so that you could be excited and know that you're part of something bigger, even though there's a little technocratic stuff. Also, I wanted to address, a lot of people ask us, so, what is Sustainable CT in terms of an organization? Where do you get your money? So I mentioned that we're part of Eastern Connecticut State University, but Sustainable CT itself is actually an independent nonprofit. It's completely philanthropically funded, so it receives no state money. So again, we get in-kind support from Eastern. Sustainable CT, the nonprofit, is housed on Eastern's campus, and they've been incredible partners, but our actual funding comes from a variety of places. But our 3 founding funders are the Smart Seed Foundation, the Common Sense Fund, and the Emily Hall Tremaine Foundation, as well as a growing number of community foundations and other partners. So Sustainable CT, we keep talking about sustainability. What does that mean? So in our conception, sustainability encompasses these 12, and I'll say growing, because this list is always evolving, but for the moment, these 12 categories, plus the 13th for innovation, great things that towns are doing that aren't captured in our list. So to pursue Sustainable CT certification successfully requires that the town do something in each of these areas. So sustainability is broad in our definition. There are things on this list that you'd probably expect to see, like well-stewarded land and natural resources, and then others that you might not expect to see on a sustainability roadmap, like vibrant and creative cultural ecosystems, homelessness prevention. These 2 are all part of sustainability. You'll see that number 1 on the list is inclusive and equitable community impacts. So there's a lot of choice in Sustainable CT. We'll talk about that in a moment, but the one required action in the program rests in that first category, and it's about optimizing for equity. So one of the first things that you'll do as a group when you think about which actions the town is going to pursue in this certification cycle and beyond is be thoughtful from the beginning about the diversity of the community and how what it is you're doing impacts everyone, really broadly defined. We have a guide that helps you with that process called the Equity Toolkit. And we also have funding for you to get at least 4 hours of free coaching from a group of people that we call our Sustainable CT Equity Coaches. They're all experts in thinking about community engagement and reaching marginalized populations. So it's a wonderful journey you're about to undertake holistically, but also with this equity lens. So what do you do to get certified? So certification lasts for 3 years. Sustainable CT, Catherine, am I remembering correctly that you were in the inaugural cohort? Okay, so Sustainable CT, we're in preschool. We're 3 years old. We've been really successful in a short time, but our first towns were certified in 2018, and certification lasts for 3 years. So West Hartford is going to be recertifying for another 3 years, hopefully successfully. They'll put an application in August. And then we'll announce later this fall which communities achieve certification. And then it's good for 3 more years. Those markers represent this balance. In a perfect world, towns would certify every year, right? We want this work to be ongoing and alive. You'll also discover it's a lot of work. So through a lot of stakeholder discussion and analysis, 3 years seems about right. But we hope that you'll view the certification process as a marker and not a stopping point, and that your work will be ongoing beyond the August submission, and that you'll already be working toward 2024. We currently offer 2 levels of certification. West Hartford is currently certified at the bronze level, and there's also a silver certification available. You saw on the previous slide, there are 13 different categories. Homelessness prevention is number 12. It's brand new this year. We're still piloting it. We're still learning. We hope you'll apply in that category, but it'll be required beginning 2022. Why it's not listed here, and innovation isn't required either. But otherwise, you'll do at least 1 action in each category. You'll apply our equity toolkit to at least 1 action, or if you're applying for a silver certification, at least 3 actions. And then every action has points associated with it. And if you successfully earn points, they go into your bucket. And if you achieve 200 total or more, that qualifies you for bronze, and 400 or more is silver. I'll pause there just for a moment to see if there are any questions so far. You can just unmute if you need to. Yeah, everyone's good? Okay. Right. And then just to contextualize you a little bit in terms of where West Hartford sits. So there's really no good way to group towns in Connecticut, right? Like all 169 towns are different. So you could look at them by county. There are a lot of different methods. So you can like take this for what you will. You can like district reference groups. You could not. You could also not know what they are, and that's great. They're one way to group Connecticut towns that take towns that are similar socioeconomically and also demographically. So take this for what you will, but I just wanted to kind of put you in a smaller container so you can kind of see where you sit, because West Hartford sits in a little bit of a place of privilege. I think we all know we're really lucky to live here compared to some other municipalities. So statewide, 70% of municipalities, a little more than that, 71% are registered in our program. About a quarter of towns in Connecticut have achieved bronze level certification, and 11% have achieved silver certifications. That's the statewide view. This is a list of towns that look like West Hartford. You can see the color coding, who's registered, who's bronze, who's silver, who's not participating yet. And this group is higher performing than the state as a whole, which suggests a space of maybe a little bit more ambition and opportunity. So, you'll make your decision. Obviously, the certification is only an opportunity. It's a framework. You need to be driven by doing the right thing for the town. But to the extent you're motivated by a goal, I'd encourage you to go for silver. About a third of the towns in this cohort have achieved it. And it would be wonderful to see West Hartford successful in that regard as well. So I'm at this point going to switch over to the website.
Yeah, and Alyssa, I didn't mean to cut you off after the last slide. I just meant thumbs up to anyone who wants to ask a question. Feel free to take yourself off mute and ask Alyssa a question. I didn't mean to hurry her along.
That's great. So I think I have to switch my share now, right? Oh, it's nice to see you all again, right? We all disappear. That's the problem not being in a room. Okay. So here is the website. Can you all see it? Yeah? Catherine, I only see you. Do you see the website? Did I do it right? Okay, good. Okay, so sustainableCT.org. This is going to be your home for this journey and this project. So I wanted to spend a little time getting you familiar with the program through the lens of the website. It has some really amazing features, and you should probably also know that we sit among a number of different state sustainability programs. Connecticut is not the only one that has a sustainability certification program for towns. So we're part of a larger national collaborative, and we all share information back and forth. So other states have the same website platform. So we've been able to leverage that collaborative to have a site with such great functionality. Hopefully you'll think so as well. So the key things that I wanted to show you, the first is we won't look at it now, but at your leisure, there's a button here called 2020 application highlights. We had 17 towns that we certified last year, and we pulled one action from each town's application. It has a photograph and a couple of sentences to just tell the story of something cool the town did. It would be a great grounding document if you want to get a sense of, well, what is it that we're trying to do? I'd encourage you to visit this, and it's a flip book. If you've never seen one of these online, it makes like the cool sound. It sounds like you're turning pages electronically, so you can play with that. And then if you go further down, this is our participating communities map. So it's a really wonderful resource, not just for inspiration, but for peer learning. So we're going to look at our full action list in a moment, but those same categories that we talked about before, you can see over here. So I'm just going to ask folks, somebody be brave. Can someone shout out a category?
Renewable and efficient energy infrastructure and operation.
Yeah, Julia, way to go to be the first one to speak. That's awesome. Okay, so one of the features of the website is you can look at stuff that other towns have done. So for the sake of time, I'm just going to pick something. Benchmark and track energy use. Catherine, this is your bread and butter, right? Like Catherine does amazing work making sure that the town is being responsible with its energy use. And if I click filter, I can then go over to the map and see every certified community that successfully completed this action. So in fact, I was going for West Hartford. Oh, this is terrible. I like don't even have my, did you guys do this one? Maybe you didn't do this one in
We did not
2018.
do that one. We did not do that one.
Okay, you didn't need it anyway, but they could have. So we'll look at our neighbor.
We will be documenting that for this cycle.
That's great. Bristol's not far away. So if you click on their tab and click view report, this is Bristol's entire certification report. And then if I go down, sorry, there's nothing worse than somebody scrolling fast on Zoom. This is what they submitted. And what's more is they were a success story, meaning that every reviewer that looked at stuff decided that among all the 7.1s, this was one of the best. So you can look and see what other towns did. So I wanted to make sure, I'm not sure what your process will be like, how you'll divide and conquer, but I imagine you'll all become experts in one or more some things. So make sure that you use this map. Again, it's on our homepage with this filter, and you can take a look. It's like in college when the professor has examples of the really good papers or the exams they liked. You definitely want to go and check those out. So I think that's everything that you need to know about the homepage. Oh, and then the one other thing, which I think is at the bottom of every page, is you can stick your email here at the bottom. We put in e-news out. It varies. We're not one of those organizations that feels like we have to email you every week. We email you when we have something to say, but it's usually replete with information about the certification process, upcoming events. So I'd encourage you to go to the website, and at the bottom, you can stick your email in if you decided that I like deceived you and it was too much and you don't want it. You can unsubscribe anytime. But I think the e-news is great. So the next thing I wanted to show you is at the top of the page, the two main tabs we're going to look at are support for your town and actions and certifications. So we're going to go to actions and certifications first. And then we're going to click on learn more. So what you'll find here are the same 13 categories that were mirrored in the other materials that I showed you. So each one of these has a long list, as you saw on the map, of actions. So since this is the one we looked at before, benchmark and track energy use, I'll click on it. But before I do, you'll notice there are these little icons. So we want every action in our program to be impactful. So it's a requirement for something to be a part of sustainable CT that it results in multiple community benefits. There's a filter. So if you want to search for the stuff that promotes health or that saves money, you can do that. But we'll click on benchmark and track energy use, and every action in the program is formatted the same way. So you can look at this in more detail, but the heart of the action is this what to do piece. So they're all formatted a little bit differently. We had 200 plus people who were involved in the drafting of these actions. So they each, it's like an ice cream shop, right? All the different flavors, but they're all ice cream. And there's the list of what you do. So this one says track energy use in municipal and board and education buildings. It's worth 5 points. It gives you great detail in terms of how you do it and where you do it. You're tracking energy in schools, in libraries, at the police and fire station, in town hall and other administrative buildings, museums if they're town owned, social and meeting halls, performing art buildings, etc., with additional detail. And then it tells you what to submit and then the time frame for credit. So if the town did something great 20 years ago, that's fabulous. But it needs to be updated or demonstrated to be ongoing, current, relevant. So we have some criteria around what you need to do, and it's explained more fully. So that's what an action looks like. And as you dig in, there's a lot of time and care that went into writing these. There are resources. So we hope that you'll engage with this in detail. In addition to the action write-ups themselves, there's this support for your town tab. So we'll go here next, and this is your spot, right? This is your tab. You can bookmark it now. There's so much good stuff here. So I'm gonna scroll down past the stuff you guys have already done. You're registered already. You guys have a sustainability team. You're it with Catherine and other great people in the town. And we talked about what you need to do for certification, but it's really the resources that I wanted to show you. So that list that I showed you online with all the actions, it's a lot of clicks, it's a lot of detail. You'll need that, but a lot of towns also enjoy using our action overview worksheet. Can you guys still see it even though I'm in a new tab? Okay, great. So this is the Excel version of what's online, and you can download this as an Excel worksheet. You all as a committee will have to come up with a process for how you manage it, but piece by piece, this is everything in the program all on one spreadsheet at a glance. So you can use this in any way you want. And the colors are relevant insofar as we change our program every year based on feedback. So if you're new, don't worry about the colors. If you know actions from a previous year, particularly last year, the colors just alert you that things changed. So that's that one.
So I'll just chime in here for 1 second. That spreadsheet Alyssa showed you is a massive spreadsheet. How many actions in the program are there, Alyssa, now? 300 something?
Yeah, it all depends on how you count. So like when I clicked on benchmark energy use, you'll memorize all these numbers by the time you're done with this whole shebang. So 7.1 might have a number 1, a number 2, a number 3. So there's 50 something actions, I'll say with a capital A, but then yes, there's probably about 300 if you start parsing out sub actions. If you guys calculate, tell me.
My point was, I don't want anyone to get scared. So that massive spreadsheet that Alyssa showed you, we are already working with and on top of. So a lot of us, we've gone through that spreadsheet. We've kind of selected and gone through all 300 actions on that spreadsheet and identified ones that are potential candidates for our certification this year, areas that the town is already working on, areas that we could work on in the future. So we're not starting from ground zero with that massive spreadsheet. We've already got a great head start going into this process. And we will be sharing information off that spreadsheet probably at our next meeting, not to overwhelm you.
Yeah, that's great. So in that spirit, no, I'm like giving you a tour of the library. You don't have to read all the books in it. So that's great. Thanks for that, Catherine. And Catherine has done amazing work. So I won't click on anything else for the sake of not scaring or overwhelming.
No.
But we have I mean, that's big scary things. But so this is a bunch of equity stuff. I'm going to click on equity resources and violate what I just told you. I wouldn't do, because it is so important. So one piece, let me scroll down and see if it's here. Yeah, so we have a number of equity trainings. Some of you might have participated in these, but we partner with Thought Partner Solutions, and they do a really comprehensive set of trainings on racial equity, diversity, and inclusion. I've participated in a lot of different trainings. These are something special, and they go deep. So as you can see from all of these, we offer them 4 times in the year. So we're heading into our summer and fall season now. So it's a commitment, because you're committing to come 3 times for 4 hours each, but they're transformative. So if you have any interest, I'd encourage you, if you'd like to learn more about integrating equity into your work, please sign up. All are welcome. And this email address is true for like everything. info@sustainablect.org. I mentioned we have a small staff. It routes to all of us. So if you have any questions about anything in this process, Catherine is a tremendous resource. And, obviously you'll all be meeting regularly, but something beyond the confines of your group, or you want to sign up for one of these trainings or whatever it is, we welcome you. So I'll go back again to the resources. There's a lot. So these training videos, they're each like 3 minutes long, and they give you a little bite-sized piece of some aspect of the program. So again, this is the library, not that you have to read everything in it. But if there's something in here that you're curious about, you were familiar with the program before because you had put up 2 hands, and you want to know how we reorganized it because it's new this year, you might come and take a look at how we reorganized all of our stuff. So enough with this page, and I know you all need to meet each other. So the last couple of things I'll show you is we have what's called our Sustainable CT Fellowship Program. They're starting tomorrow. We're very excited. We have 13 fellows, all of whom are either Connecticut based in that they lived here and grew up here, or that they're attending undergraduate or graduate school here, but they're going to be placed in the state's 9 councils of government. So you'll have a couple of very talented students at CROG, which is the Capital Region Council of Government, who are going to be working 40 hours a week for the next 10 weeks. And their sole purpose is to provide assistance and support. So in addition to all of you volunteering, we're going to be paying these students to support you between now and submission time in August. So by all means, please utilize them. And then the last couple of things I wanted to show you, we already talked about the fellows, we talked about equity coaches, free technical assistance and support. And Ed Perzanowski, I know you're here, so I'm going to give Smart Commuting a plug. So CT Rides is an amazing program that supports all employers, but that includes municipalities, and encouraging smart commuting choices. So COVID is transformative. It's also not forever. I know that I'm going to be going back to work in my office on a more regular basis soon. So what are things that West Hartford can be doing to encourage practices for its own employees to make a choice to come to work other than driving alone in a car? So any town that's interested in that resource, which links to one of the actions in our program, can contact Ed. And that's true for lots of different actions. So there are all these linkages between incredible nonprofits and the actions in our program, so that West Hartford and any other municipality seeking free technical assistance can get it. So this page is also available. And then the last I'll show you, which is fun because it's about money, and it's a great program. So Sustainable CT has something called the Community Match Fund. It's a crowdfunding platform such that anyone in the community that has a great idea and wants to implement something that aligns with one of the actions in Sustainable CT, it's as simple as calling our office, linking up with Abe Hilding-Solorio, who's our community outreach manager. We have particular funding as it happens around composting. So if anyone has some great ideas about composting, we have dedicated funding for that, although you can think of anything. And your project goes up, we give you the tools to crowdfund, and then Sustainable CT matches dollar for dollar. So our website, we work with a partner that houses our web platform that isn't coming up on the link right now. So I'm going to go in this way. so that you can take a look. But I encourage you to check out the projects that are currently fundraising, the ones we've funded in the past. If you feel inspired to start one, you can not only do something great in West Hartford, but you could potentially also get points in your sustainable CT application. You can also donate. So we've given out over $1 million in our year since the project. And just to give you a sense of some of them, there's a whole range. So a pollinator meadow at Litchfield High School. Solar Field is being fundraised for. Sustainable Weston has an education and internship program around sustainability. There's a nursery school that's doing a Korean rooftop project. So beyond the scope of our meeting today, but I just wanted to give you a flavor. So you can go to patronagecity.com/sustainablecT or email me if you'd like the link. And
just for those people
Yeah.
on the call, West Hartford community members have taken advantage of the Sustainable Connecticut Community Match Fund. I think there have been 6 or 7 West Hartford projects to date. I'm not sure whether all of them were completed because of COVID, but I know that even some members of the group who are on the call today, Kim Hughes, was one of West Hartford residents who started a project as well. And there have been some other successful ones to fund banners in the center, so banners on the light posts, and some other projects to fund trees, I think, and benches in Fern Ridge Park. So yeah. So West Hartford is taking advantage of that. And like Alyssa said, anyone can take advantage of that. They don't have to be a town staff, and the town does not even have to be involved in the project. They need to be aware of the project.
Yeah, so I want to make sure you all have time to speak and get to know each other. So I guess the last thing I'll say is you're embarking on a really great adventure. I love this program. I feel so lucky that I get to do this work, and that you're all coming together to make a difference. You really embody this tagline of local actions, statewide impact, and I'm very excited to look at, but unfortunately not review. I'll recuse myself, West Hartford's application when it comes in August. So I turn it back over to you, Catherine, but I'm here if anyone has any questions.
Alyssa, I'm wondering if you can show one more thing on the website, because I love the training calendar. There are so many good webinars and things that are listed. You know, whether we use it as part of the work we're going to do through this group, or if you just personally are interested in some of these topics, they have a great compilation of webinars and trainings available.
Yeah, so I'll reshare again. Thanks for bearing with all of the back and forth.
Sorry.
That's okay. All right, so hopefully you all can see. So at the top, I just clicked training and events. This is the calendar. We also will selectively put some of these in our e-news. So some of these events are ours. Some of them are other organizations. There's a ton going on. I'd say probably the most fun of our Sustainable CT events is not always, but almost always on the 3rd Friday of every month at 10, which is a terrible time if you work. But you know, if you have a professional life such that it could support it, we have this, what we call our Sustainable CT coffee hour. So municipal people, residents, members of sustainability teams, municipal staff are our primary audience. They're very organic. So it's not your traditional webinar format. So we usually do have some kind of formal presentation, but there's a lot of conversation and dialogue. We had a great one this past Friday. So this homelessness category is really new terrain for a lot of people. Catherine, you were on that one, right? Am I remembering correctly? Yeah, so, you know, everyone is sitting at this table for a different reason. There's something on that list that speaks to you. It's not the same category for everybody. So it's a huge space of learning and stretching yourself. So most of the folks who were on the last coffee hour learning about how to address homelessness is new. It's certainly more visible than ever before. There's also a lot of invisibility, right? So we might have an image in our mind if we drive through West Hartford Center. There are people there that stand and ask for money and presenting themselves as homeless. There are folks who at this time of year are imminently homeless as the school year ends and parents have to make decisions about financial resources as the public school system is no longer available to provide childcare while parents work. So anyway, that's all to say that there are lots of great events, and you could check them out on our calendar.
Great. Thank you. So before we move on to the next part of the agenda, and before we let Alyssa leave, does anyone have any questions for her? I know that was a lot of information all at once. We don't have to process it all at once. We'll come back to that, and there'll be plenty of times to get familiar with the program and that website and answer all your questions. But I open it up if anyone has any questions right now.
Just a minor question.
I have a question. Oh, go ahead.
I think Johan had a question first.
Is it my turn first?
Sure.
Okay, thanks very much. Well, Alyssa, I loved your presentation. I have a very quick question. I saw 6 cities that currently have a silver status. Is there one city, one town that you can point to as a kind of a best practice model that we can learn from as we start this this project? I mean, I saw Fairfield, Glastonbury, Simsbury, they're all very different towns. But if there's one that you can think of that can point us in the right direction in a number of fields.
Yeah, it's a great question. It's like, it's hard, right? I have 3 children, and it's like asking which one's my favorite. I don't know if I could answer, but I'll answer it this way. On Tuesday, we have 2 opportunities every year for towns to get certified. You can apply in the spring or you can apply in the fall. So our spring certification cycle is coming to an end. Our board is actually meeting on Thursday, and on Tuesday, we're going to be announcing the spring certified communities. So because our program changes every year, if you're going to reference anyone's application, it's the cohort that got certified in the spring that I direct you to look at, because they'll be the most informative, because whatever is there is aligned with the 2021 program requirements. Whereas there might be a town who did something great in 2019, but because the actions change a little bit every year, the current ones are your best guide. So that way I can answer your question without picking a favorite.
All right, fair enough. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I think Steve Sack has a question.
Yes, thank you. So, couple quick questions here. Is the state involved in this at all too, in trying to get certified to a degree with the sustainable CT outlines and plans?
Yeah. So, I guess the short answer is yes. The slightly longer answer, so we're a municipal certification program. So in terms of who we certify, Sustainable CT only certifies towns. But in terms of the values of our program, the opportunity is tremendous, because this is a way to incentivize towns to move forward and help implement state policies. So as one example, we have a housing category. There is a high-level state policy and wish that every town in Connecticut achieve a certain percentage of its housing stock being affordable. So our action aligns with a massive amount of work happening at the state level, and we collaborate heavily with the Department of Housing. And that's true across all categories. In the realm of materials management, the Connecticut Department of Energy and Environmental Protection has a coalition on sustainable materials management. We work regularly with the folks at DEEP to make sure that whatever the state's priorities are in terms of where they want towns to be going, and unit-based pricing, which for those of you who aren't familiar, the idea that you can change resident behavior around how much you throw out by charging people by the amount of trash they generate. And that behavior change is so significant that cost ends up going way down for the entire town. But politically, it's a very hard sell. So we have an action that we've drafted in collaboration with the state to try to help move towns forward in an incremental way toward implementing that policy. So there are lots of examples where we collaborate with the state to drive state policy forward at the municipal level, if that makes sense.
Okay. All right. Yeah, because I see the state does some stuff, but not other stuff, and it seems like the
Keep
towns
in
are a
mind,
lot more than the states themselves.
Steve, also that municipalities choose which actions they want to implement. You are not
Yeah.
required to implement all actions in the program.
Yeah. All right, thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions? Okay, well, Alyssa, thank you so much. You are welcome to stick around or get back to your family if you need to. I think, like I said, we'll let all of that pack full of information, we'll just let it simmer for a little while. And our plan now is to kind of, I'm going to reshare my screen and shift gears a little bit. Oh, we're done with this part of the agenda. Let's move on. Okay.
And I am gonna head out. So thank you all, everyone.
And Alyssa is just an email away. You guys heard info@sustainableconnecticut.org goes to all of their staff members, and she's on the other end of that. So we
Thank
know
you,
we're
Alyssa.
behind you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. So as I was saying, we are going to switch gears a little bit. We brought all of you together here tonight, a wonderful, diverse group of volunteers interested in different aspects of sustainability and working together to make West Hartford a better place to live. So I'd like to just take a moment. I know there are a lot of you, so it'll take a little bit while, but I'd like to go round and have everyone introduce themselves. I can leave this slide up so that you can see the questions, but we're asking really quickly, and I'll go first so that we kind of have an example, just to introduce yourself. For those of you on the phone or who don't have a screen in front of you, those questions are, what's your name? How long have you lived in West Hartford? Our little icebreaker question, and we're not going to judge. There's no judgment here. But our icebreaker question is, do you prefer odd numbers or even numbers? And then the fourth question, which I think we did warn you about in your welcome letters, was, and if you can try and keep it pretty brief, what is your one sustainability related wish for West Hartford? So what's your name? How long have you lived here? Odd numbers or even numbers? And what's your one sustainability wish? So I'll go first, and then I think for ease, I'll just, and please, I apologize in advance if I butcher your name, but I think for ease, I will just call out people's names rather than having people volunteer. That might speed things along a little bit. So again, my name is Catherine Deviney. I don't live in West Hartford, actually. I live in the neighboring town of Simsbury. So please don't shoot me for that. My husband actually grew up here. So when we moved from Portland, Oregon, we moved back to his hometown. I am definitely an odd numbered person. And I'm going to actually, I want you guys to do one, but I'm going to do two wishes just to give you a flavor of, it can be something broader or more specific. So I have two wishes. One of my wishes is to get all the remaining street lights in the town of West Hartford converted to LEDs. We still have some of those decorative acorn top lights and some lampposts in the neighborhoods that are not LEDs. And then my broader wish, just as another example, is that I wish the town would take a more visible top-down approach to sustainability, with all of the leadership, the town council, and the Board of Ed requesting action rather than us always seemingly having to push from below. So those are my wishes. And so I'm just going to call out some names, and please remember to take yourself off mute. And again, we're not judging here. This also help us give us a flavor for who's on the call and kind of what your interests are, because as Alyssa mentioned, sustainability is a broad topic, not just focused on energy or in the environment. So how about we go to Christine Feely first?
It's 7
Hi,
o'clock.
I'm Chris Feely, and I have lived in West Hartford for 4.5 years, and that is the sum total of time I have lived in Connecticut. So I have lived most of my life elsewhere. I really like Connecticut. I really like West Hartford. I'm excited about this. I think I might be an even numbers person. I never thought about it, but I'll think I'll go there. My sustainability related wish is to see West Hartford move really strongly and assertively toward energy efficiency and adoption of clean and renewable energy at all levels and sectors.
Great, thank you. How about Dan? And again, I apologize in advance, Masiello? Is he on the call? Okay, let's go to Daniel Becerra.
Hi, I'm Dan Becerra. I've lived in West Hartford for 2 years. Just like Alyssa said, I moved here, lived in a multifamily, and then recently, about a year ago, purchased a house with my partner, so put down roots here for the long haul. I think I'm an even numbers person also. And then I just pick one small sustainability wish is to have for West Hartford to have more robust cycling infrastructure.
Great. Ed Perzanowski.
Yeah, good job with the last name. So we've been in West Hartford for just over 10 years now. Although I previously lived in town in a multifamily for about 3 years, back in the early 2000s. I'm an even numbers person, probably from the time when I was playing sports. I always had an even number. And if there's one sustainability related wish, would be again greater adoption of bike lanes or complete streets. So we can be resilient, have a more resilient transportation system.
Perfect. Grace Furia.
You got it. Hi, my name is Grace. I've lived in West Hartford my whole life. I'm 16. I've lived in West Hartford my whole life. I go to Hall High School. I prefer even numbers. I've always been an even numbers person. And one sustainability related wish I have for West Hartford. So I work with an organization called the Connecticut Coalition on Homelessness. I kind of co-founded with one of their members an advocacy group for youth where we fight to end homelessness in Connecticut. And probably one of my biggest goals for Connecticut as a state and for West Hartford as West Hartford is to provide access to homelessness prevention resources, especially establishing a McKinney-Vento liaison for all our schools in Connecticut. I know homelessness is something very important for ending in Connecticut, and we're like close. It's something within reach, and I'm really excited to be here with all of you, and hopefully we can work with Section 12, which actually CCH, Connecticut Coalition and Homelessness, helped write, and I'm really excited. Thank you.
Thanks, Grace. Heidi Green.
Hi there, I'm Heidi Green. I have lived in West Hartford since 2007. I'm not a contrarian, but I'm not an odd or an even numbers person. I'm really a letters person. And my one wish is I would love it if West Hartford really proactively decided to be an anti-racist community.
Great, thanks. Henry Millward.
Hello, my name is Henry Millward. I've lived in West Hartford for almost 10 years. I'd have to say I'm an even numbers person. I'm a math teacher, so got a lot of experience with those numbers. I was curious. There's no rational number choices or irrational number, but if I have to choose between odd and even numbers, I'll say even numbers. My one sustainability related wish for West Hartford is passing a climate emergency resolution to join 4 other towns and the 22 municipalities in CCOG in doing this. I'm working with a team of high schoolers and college students to work on that in West Hartford right now.
Thanks. Jane Roth? We have Jane?
Yeah, hi, I'm Jane Roth. I've lived in, well, I grew up in Connecticut, but I've lived in West Hartford for about 28 years, raised my children here, and they went through the public schools, the wonderful West Hartford public schools. I don't know what number I prefer, so I'm just going to say I'm odd, because maybe I'm odd.
Yeah.
Okay. And my sustainability wish is that in the spring and fall, when I walk around on our streets and in our parks, that I no longer see those little yellow signs that indicate the toxic use of toxic pesticides and herbicides.
Okay. Jay? Strange? Sorry.
Hi, everybody. Jay Staines, just like strange without the R. 1 year in West Hartford. I'm a former Alaskan, and Hendry, I'm also a former math teacher. So love the prime numbers. Odd for sure. Prime numbers 13, 47. I can go on and on. I hope and wish for West Hartford residents to take a more active role in climate resilience by spending 30 minutes a week turning their rodent-free backyard compost piles instead of spending those 30 minutes at the gym, and spending 30 minutes a day in active non-automobile transportation. And I'm really glad to be here. Hi, everybody.
Thanks, Jay. Johan?
Yes, thank you. My name is Johannes Eveline. I've lived in West Hartford for 20 some years. I think I'm an odd numbered person. Never really gave it much thought. And I wish for West Hartford something that has been mentioned a number of times, and that is for West Hartford to become less car dominated and car dependent, and to robustly invest and support better cycling infrastructure, walkability and cyclability, which promotes real, deep, sustainable quality of life.
Great, thank you. Jonathan Humphrey?
Hello, I'm Jonathan Humphrey. I've lived in Connecticut my entire life. I actually grew up in Simsbury. But I've had the pleasure of living in West Hartford for the last 2.5 years, I think now. I haven't really thought about the numbers too much, but if I was going to have to choose, I think it would be even numbers. And something I would love to see for West Hartford is a single-use plastic ban. I do a lot of trash cleanups on walks around the neighborhood or just in Connecticut, and most of it that you see is single-use plastic. So I'd love to see something regarding that.
Thanks. Julia Farber?
Hi, I'm Julia Farber. This is Sadie. She lives downstairs. She's going home soon, but she refuses to get off the table, so I apologize. I have lived in West Hartford for 3 years, and I never also thought about the numbers or even or odd, but I guess I'm an even numbers person. And I have a lot of sustainability related wishes for West Hartford, but the one that comes to mind, it echoes some of the things that have already been said, but I would really love to see the town commit to a 100% clean and renewable energy future. And I would love to see us do it in a way that makes it accessible to renters and other residents of the town, so that we can find a solution to climate change and set ourselves up for resilient futures. Thank you.
Let's go to Catherine Bruns, who's taking our notes.
Hi, guys. You've kept me busy with the note taking. I'm Catherine Bruns, the recycling coordinator for the town. It's great to see all of you out here. And thanks so much for participating. I've lived in West Hartford for 17 years. I think I'm an even numbers person. And I would like to see West Hartford focus on food waste diversion and organics diversion. It's about 30% of what we send to waste facilities, and we can really, I think, save our town money and clean up the environment and divert this sort of valuable resource from waste. So organics diversion, I would say. Thanks.
Thanks. Kathleen Roche.
Hello, I'm Kathleen Roach. I've lived in West Hartford my entire life, other than the time I spent away at college. I'm definitely an even numbers person, and a wish I have for West Hartford is to increase public transportation as well as public awareness of other options besides taking our cars everywhere.
Thanks. Kathy Sipes.
Hi, I've lived in West Hartford for 33 years with a short hiatus to move with my husband's career. So we came back to West Hartford. I was born in an even month on an even year, even day, even year. So I am an even person, an even number person. And I've been participating in a home food composting program that's provided locally by Blue Earth Composting. And it has just really been a fabulous experience to live day to day with the reality of what we're wasting or what we could be composting. And then using that compost, it comes back to me twice a year in my yard. So I think a food composting, food recycling initiative would be my #1 wish. Thank you.
Thanks. Kevin Nugent.
So I've lived in West Hartford for all my life because I'm a junior at Conrad High School. I'd say I prefer even numbers, and one wish I have would to increase youth engagement to have our next generation of residents and leaders to continue on the legacy the town has provided.
The legacy of what, Kevin? Sorry, I missed that.
The legacy like the town has provided, or this group has, hopefully.
Thanks. Kim Hughes.
Hi, I'm sorry, bad connection here. Kim Hughes. I've lived in West Hartford for 15 years, odd numbers, and I am very interested in working actively right now on providing all children in our town with outdoor learning experiences, with the idea that it's that connection to the land and soil that kind of is all of our common ground, like really where we find sustainability. And then also, I just have to throw in, I read a book recently where she talks about moving from sustainability to reciprocity. That's a word I like a lot. One quick thing, Jane, about the yellow signs, please look at grassrootswh.org and get in touch with us through that. I would love to work with you. And then Kevin, we're looking for ways to engage with high school students, and I'm looking forward to chatting with you. Great to meet you all. Thank you.
Thanks, Kim. Lindsay Whitcomb.
Hi, my name is Lindsay Whitcomb. I've lived in West Hartford for almost 4 years. I don't have a huge preference for odd or even, except for when I am landscaping or making flower arrangements, and then I always go with odd numbers. My background is in resource recovery, food waste diversion, and so my big goal as far as sustainability for West Hartford would be to really push food waste diversion, landfill reservation, and organic waste, not no organic waste in trash bins. Thanks.
Great. Ooh, I lost my page. I think Dan Masiello has found the mute button. So Dan, are you there? Can we go back to you?
We can. Thank you so much.
Awesome.
That's very nice of you. My name's Dan Masiello. I've lived in West Hartford. It's going to be 2 years in September. I prefer odd numbers. They're more aesthetically pleasing. And my one sustainability wish would be more transparency, just regarding the numbers in as far as what the town collects as far as information regarding what we do with our waste, and better access for everyone for that type of information. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, we are moving on. Luciana Brandstrand. Luciana? Okay. Mary.
Okay. Hi, guys. My name is Luciana. I have lived in West Hartford for 1 year and a half, but I have worked here with Kim in West Hartford before living here. So, yeah, I'm glad that I'm living here right now. I believe that I am an even number person, and my sustainable wish for West Hartford is to see a more resilient food system in town, that we talk about local food production, that we support a local agriculture. And I would love to see schools having all this fresh and organic food as well. So yeah, I'm very passionate about food systems, so I hope I can join you guys and contribute with my work. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Mary Donegan?
Hi, I'm Mary Donegan. I've lived here for 6 years. I am an odd numbers person. My sustainability related wish is to really overhaul zoning and land use in West Hartford to promote denser development. To me, dense development is sort of the necessary precondition for more sustainable transportation, to lower the cost of living, so that we can have a more equitable community, to lower energy use per household. I mean, housing to me is really the cornerstone of all things sustainable, and I'd like to see the town do more of that.
Awesome. Maura.
Hi, I'm Maura Boudreau. I've lived in West Hartford for about 15 years. I work at the West Hartford Public Library. You might recognize me from some of the programs that I do. We've done programs with both Catherines. I definitely prefer odd numbers. My husband likes even numbers, so we fight over the TV remote control. I always have to have it on 27. He always has to have it on 28. And I guess I just have two sustainability related wishes for West Hartford. I would love to have more sustainability related programs at the library, because I think it's so important to get the word out. And then also, I think a couple other people mentioned the yellow signs with pesticides on the lawns. It's just a huge pet peeve of mine. And I have 2 rescue dogs who walk on the lawns, and that gets onto their paws and then into their system. So I'd like to see more efforts around that.
Great. Michael, we've got 2 Michaels. Michael Byrne?
Right here. Hi, everyone. Michael Byrne. Good to hear all these comments. These are fantastic. I'm excited to be part of it. I've lived in West Hartford since 2008. I prefer odd numbers. I forget who was talking before, but they were going through their birthday about even day, even year, and so forth. And I just did the quick calc, and I'm all odd, so it makes sense. And in terms of sustainability related wish, I think Dan hit the nail on the head for me. And where I was thinking is, we need to socialize metrics around what our town is doing, how much energy we're consuming, whether it's municipal buildings or wherever we take it. Certain metrics that can make it digestible in terms of where we currently are. And, we're here as representatives from our town trying to collect together as a community to take actionable change against climate and all the 11, 12 sustainable efforts that were listed as part of, the presentation before. So for us to really attack it, I feel we need to know what we're dealing with, and then almost as a community start to root each other on about, okay, what does it look like a year from now? What does it look like 6 months from now? And then really dig to work. So I think you need to really understand what we're working with from a metric standpoint first.
Great, thanks.
Thank you.
And then the other Michael Eflin, I don't have it in front of me.
Elfenbaum.
Sorry.
It's okay. Michael Elfenbaum. I've lived in West Hartford going on 18 years. I'll go with even numbers for no particular reason. And my sustainability wish would be for more usage of solar energy, especially in public buildings, but anywhere there's public gathering, that they can use solar versus electric, going that route.
Okay. Natalie Mendez.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Natalie.
My name is Natalie Mendes. I've lived in West Hartford for 25 years. I don't know the significance of odd versus even numbers, but I intuitively feel like I'm an odd number person, even though my birth month and day are even. When I've thought about sustainability, I always think of environment or climate change issues, but I saw this year where equity and inclusion were important components or new components in the certification process. So I thought I would apply to be part of this group. And my interest is in African American history. I know that the state has developed a curriculum to add African American history, to the public school curriculum at the high school level. So, my sustainability related wish would be to increase diversity in the staffing of the school system in West Hartford, and to do some things to raise the awakening of maybe starting in the public school system of the African American history that's been hidden from view for the most part.
Great, thank you. Preeti Dua.
Hi, my name is Preeti Dua. I've lived in West Hartford about 12 years now. I'm an even numbers person, and my sustainability wish is I guess a little different. It's mindset related. I'd like for the school district to have a greater emphasis on sustainability, perhaps investment in more programs, so that we can enable our kids to pivot in that direction sooner rather than later. Thank you.
Thank you. Rachel Virgin.
Hi, I'm Rachel Virgin. I grew up in the Rocky Mountains, but I've lived in West Hartford for 21 years. I'm proud to say that I've been in the same zip code for 20 of those years, from a small apartment to then a 2-family home to now owning our own home with kids here. And I think that's a really neat thing that you can do that in the same zip code in this town. I would say I'm an odd number person. I was gonna say that my one wish would be to bury our power lines, but then I saw that homelessness is accepted as sustainability related, which makes me so happy, and I feel so strongly about that it almost doesn't matter what else good we're doing, I feel, if there are people who have nowhere to sleep at night in our town. So I'm just thrilled that that's on the agenda. Thank you.
Thanks. And in case you guys are wondering, we are getting near the end. I think we've got about 7 or 8 people left, so almost done. Not that these people are any less important than the ones who went before. If you haven't, my list is alphabetical by first name. Ted Gerner. I don't know if I said that right.
Yeah, you did. Hi, everybody. I'm Ted Gerner. Like Rachel, I've lived here for 21 years also. My wife and I moved here from Texas. We're both teachers in town. And we're both science teachers. And so as a science teacher, I love the metric system. And so therefore, the number 10 is my favorite number, and it's even. So I got to go with even numbers. My one sustainability wish for West Hartford has to do with our tree canopy. I would really like to continue working to preserve it, restore it, and increase the tree canopy in West Hartford.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Vanessa Borkowski.
Hi, everyone. My name is Vanessa Borkowski. I've lived in West Hartford for 5 years now. I feel like I am contradicting all engineering codes and practices. I like odd numbers. Usually we like nice round, square, 10, order of magnitude 10 type numbers. And my wish for West Hartford is that everyone has a compost bin at their residence, whether it's in their backyard or on their patio deck. As a water engineer, resource recovery is very important to me, and that's what's really driving that sustainability related wish.
Thanks, Vanessa. So Denise asked me in the chat, I'm sorry, Denise, yeah, when I said it was alphabetical by first name, I forgot I added some people to the bottom of the list here. So Denise Gutierrez. Are you there?
I am. Sorry.
Sorry about that.
Hi, everyone. My name is Denise Gutierrez. I've been living in West Hartford for almost 4 years. It'll be 4 years in July. I am definitely an even numbers person, even though I agree that odd numbers are more aesthetically pleasing. My favorite number has always been the number 8, so I have to say even numbers. And as a math person, you can divide it in half multiple times and you still get an even number, which is really, really satisfying. My one sustainability related wish for West Hartford echoes Rachel Virgin sentiment. I would love to see homeless people housed. Regardless of, meeting any particular criteria, just housing homeless people full stop is probably my biggest wish.
Great. Thanks. Erin Keneally? Erin? Okay. Ted Newton. Actually, I knew Ted Newton is not here, but Matt Masunis is. Are you here still, Matt?
I am still. Hey, how's it going? Hey, Matt Masunis. So I'm a proxy for Ted Newton, who I think you guys will be working a little bit more with, but I know Sustainable CT well. I know Catherine well. All these people do great work. So I think you're in for a boatload of enjoyment in terms of pursuing sustainability together. So I've been in West Hartford about 10 years, and I don't know Ted's preference on odd versus even. I'll go with even, since I was born in June 2nd, so that's 6'2", and like most of you, I use a base 10 counting system. And my one sustainability related wish for West Hartford would be that there would be more people out there like you who would be putting forth so many good ideas for West Hartford. How's that sound?
Thanks, Matt. And then Steve Sack, I think is here as well from the Clean Energy Commission.
Yes, hello. My name is Steve Sack. I've been in West Hartford my whole life. I'm not going to reveal how long that is. It's a sorry number for me. I'm not happy about it. I would say I'm probably an even number. And I would like to kind of two things together is to do cost-effective approaches for greenhouse gas emissions reductions and have the towns push that along to the state level with it too.
Great. Okay, I think I got everyone who was an official member of the commission. Is there anyone out there who I missed who is burning with desire to be included? Okay, then. Well, guys, I hope you don't mind me taking the time. I know it was a little bit of time to get through such a big group. At the next meeting, I will be sure to share the results of whether the odd numbers or the even numbers won. And for those of you, I mean, it was meaningless, so don't read anything into it. I just thought it'd be fun. But there was a lot of great information you guys shared, and I definitely can see a few themes emerging out of what you, what interests were mentioned in different areas. So we can delve into that a little bit more. Right now, in the interest, we'll just keep moving. There's really not a lot more we have on the agenda. As you can see, the last 3 items I hope are going to go much quicker than what we've just gone through. So I hope to get you guys out of here in 15 minutes or so, if that's all right. So let's plow ahead. Can everyone still see my screen? Okay. So what I wanted to do next was just go over a little bit of the roles and responsibilities of this new advisory group. So for those of you who are not aware, most of you probably are because you answered the town solicitation that was put out. This group was created by a resolution to establish a sustainability advisory group on the 23rd of February this year. That resolution directed the town manager to work on the Sustainable Connecticut program, the actions, and pursue certification. It authorized the establishment of this advisory group, and it resolved that this group should be comprised of a diversity of residents from across our community. So that's why we're all here. So the scope of work for this group, the Sustainability Advisory Group was really created for a specific purpose. So when that purpose is fulfilled, the group's work will be done and the group will go away. So this group is in fact a temporary group. We envision the work of this group likely happening in 2 phases over a 10 to 12 month period. But again, that's flexible, and this group will continue as long as the purpose is not finished. So the 2 phases of work we kind of envision is for the first 3 months, we'll kind of put our noses to the grindstone and work on some of those actions that Alyssa was talking about, because the Sustainable Connecticut application for the town is due on August 24th. So that's 3 short months away. And then after the application's due, I think might be when some of the real work happens, because at that time we'll kind of shift gears and this group will enter into some broader discussion and hopefully develop some recommendations that you all can present to town council about how to move forward on sustainability. And now I just listed here, you know, those recommendations could take many forms, you know, they could be priorities or policies, practices, projects, programs. That really is in the future and will take shape in the future. And I just included here the work that we do throughout this time together may include, as the group see fit. It could include some small group work, some research, gathering of data, soliciting more input from the public. We could invite guest speakers in. We could collaborate. I see my formatting's off. Sorry about that. Collaborate with other organizations or other towns. So those are kind of the responsibilities of the group. And then there are just a couple of requirements that our Corp Council wanted me to be sure to go over. So our Sustainability Advisory Group is subject to the requirements of Connecticut's Freedom of Information Act. And as you can see here, that really just means that all meetings need to take place in public, and the public has a right to attend all the meetings, whether they're in person or virtual, which is why this meeting is being broadcast live tonight. That also means that prior to any meeting, the agendas need to be filed with the town clerk's office and posted. And then following the meeting, the minutes will be filed with the town clerk's office and posted within 7 calendar days. Now there's a link here to a welcome to public service packet. Again, you guys are going to get the slides, and the slides will be posted along with the meeting minutes. Feel free to look at that, but it's a lot of detailed information which pertains to more to boards and commissions than to a temporary advisory group. But it's got a lot of information in it, so feel free to look at that as well.
Catherine?
Yes.
Can you clarify when you say that all of the meetings have to be the public has a right to attend all meetings of this advisory group? If we were to have a subcommittee meeting or were to break out into smaller work groups to do some of the things you highlighted on the slide before, do those also have to fulfill these expectations?
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. So a lot of the small group work, hopefully we'll be able to do in larger meetings, breaking out into tables or things like that.
Okay.
Catherine, this is Kathy Sipes. So by August, we need to help or we need to take ownership of completing the application?
No,
Are we
so
or we're doing?
Yeah, so the idea is, yeah, let's go back to this. So the idea is, yes, we kind of reached out to the community to involve you in the application process. Now, we're not expecting to offload this and all this work onto you guys, and please don't think that at all. The town has already done an application for Sustainable Connecticut once. We achieved bronze certification. So a lot of that work will roll over and just need to be updated. A lot of the actions in the program too that we will be going for certification on are things where the documentation is already in place. We can submit, for example, we talked about the energy use data for public buildings. Well, that information already exists. So it's really up to me to click the button in Energy Star Portfolio Manager and upload that information to Sustainable Connecticut. It's not a hard task to do, but there might be other actions on this list where community involvement and a little bit of volunteer help from this group can pull together the documentation. There are a lot of actions where partner organizations might be involved, and you as community members might know of something that's going on in the community that satisfies one of the actions that we don't know about. So the idea is to kind of work together, maybe pick and choose some actions that you guys could help tackle, as well as the town staff are tackling some too. So as we go through this process using Sustainable Connecticut actions and framework, I think it'll give you guys a good grounding in what is going on in the town, what is not going on in the town, and a flavor for what sustainability could encompass. And that will help inform the later discussions after the application is due.
Thank you.
I don't think this work is going to be onerous on you. You know, I think it'll be fun to tackle a couple of actions and pull together some documentation, working cooperatively with town staff and the Connecticut Sustainable Connecticut Fellows that Alyssa mentioned are coming too, because those volunteers, they really know the program inside and out and can help guide how the documentation is pulled together for certain actions.
All right, thank you.
Does that help everyone? Any other questions?
Yeah, I have a question. I was wondering, you know, since you last completed the application, is there any sort of documentation that talks about some of the strategies that West Hartford has implemented?
Strategies.
Right? Any sort of sustainable actions that have been taken, like just what the town council, what everyone's been doing, you know, for the past 3 years, call it.
So the town doesn't put together like kind of a sustainability report or an annual report or something like that.
Okay.
No. So there on the Sustainable Connecticut website, you can download West Hartford's bronze certification application. So all of the actions that we submitted for, and again, that's just, it's not comprehensively what the town is doing. Those were the actions that we selected to apply for. So that is downloadable. And then gearing up for this year's certification, Alyssa presented on that screen that massive spreadsheet. So town staff and leadership and I have gone through that spreadsheet and kind of gone through it with a yes, no, maybe kind of down all 300 actions. So we have a kind of starting point for what we think, yes, the town has completed that action. No, the town hasn't. Maybe we have. And you guys might know something we didn't know, you know, and we only talked to so many people in the town. So I'm sure there's way more going on than we have a handle on. Yeah, there's a lot of great sustainability initiatives going on in the town. So it's hard to keep tabs on what they all are and who's doing them. And my role in the town, I'm a part-time employee, and my title, as you saw, was energy specialist. So what I really do is not sustainability. I work on energy efficiency projects, lighting projects, solar projects, you know, building capital improvement projects is really what I do with my 20 hours a week.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So any other questions about this? And I think this will be fun. You know, we'll learn as we go along. This is a committee. This is actually, you know, your committee. This is your town. So moving on with that in mind, the next thing that I wanted to accomplish was just a little bit of administration. We need to figure out kind of how frequently this group wants to meet. And again, I think, as Kathy pointed out, this application sounds like a lot of work. It's not as big as we're making it out to be. And 3 months is more than enough time to kind of pull things together. Some of the hardest actions to complete, and we'll get into this at the next meeting, are maybe those category 1 equity actions, because there is a process involved in those. It's more of a process than just a single action. But what I wanted to do next was we do need to do a little bit of administration, figure out, it's probably easier to have a set meeting schedule. We do need to decide if we're going to have officers. I'm facilitating the meeting today, but I don't plan to do that as the staff liaison. I think we'd rather that one of you facilitate the meeting. And as we mentioned as well, we do need minutes. So maybe someone would volunteer to be the secretary as well. I have been designated as the staff liaison for this group. So any information flow or any questions we have that need to go back up to someone in the town, I can help facilitate that. Or Catherine Bruns, who is also on this call, will also help in that regard. And then additional assistance we'll have from the Sustainable Connecticut Fellow that Alyssa mentioned, which will be assigned later in a couple of weeks, actually. So coming back to the meeting schedule, I think it would be okay if we plan to meet again in June, a month from now, unless people are feeling a little overwhelmed and would like to meet in 2 weeks. Any thoughts, comments?
Since we're virtual, I think meeting in 2 weeks would make more sense. Just,
Are we going to be virtual is the question, because we were almost.
yeah, that's the question, yeah.
So the governor's executive order allows virtual meetings through the end of June. After that, it expires and most public meetings will need to go back to in person. So if we'd like to try for one more virtual meeting, it would need to be before June 30th.
Yeah, I have a question. We're entering summertime, and I'm sure a number of us will be taking vacations, and I mean, it would be great if it was virtual because we could still participate in the meeting.
That's a good point, Jane. That's a great point.
I would also add that if we met, one point in the argues in favor in meeting in 2 weeks would be for those people who are tied to a academic calendar. It's before that summer vacation starts too, so that can be, I guess, actually a good thing or a bad thing. But people who are taking off on vacation and maybe less available would maybe be more available if we met sooner.
Okay, so let's, my screen is, does anyone have a calendar? Oh, let me get my calendar here, sorry. So, okay. How do people feel about Wednesday, June 16th for the next meeting? I cannot see anybody. Let me stop sharing my screen.
Do you want us to use the little reaction guys and put our little thumbs up if we can do it? How do you want to do this?
I don't know.
Sorry, did we decide, is that June 16th virtual or in person?
That would be we could do a virtual meeting still in June. I see.
And would it be an evening meeting, this particular, same time as this meeting?
Yes. Okay. I see some people, I'm seeing lots of thumbs up. Okay, so let's go with that. We'll do a virtual meeting on June 16th. I apologize if some of you can't make it, but again, the meetings will be recorded, and the meeting minutes will be available. So do we have any volunteers to be the facilitator for the next meeting?
I would. I'd be happy to do that. Julia Farber, I would like to facilitate.
Anyone?
Catherine, this is Jay. Before you move on to roles, could you specify a time for Wednesday, June 16th, please?
Yes. Do people like 6 or 7?
If it was the same time as this one, it was 6, but whatever for me, but others might want to weigh in.
I vote for 6.
Yeah, I like better.
What is better?
6.
7.
6.
7 would be better for me.
I have a vote for 6 in the chat. Shall we try 6:30 to please everyone?
6:30 sounds like a good compromise.
6:30. We're doing
Yes,
June 16th at 6:30.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, Julia Farber, anyone else interested in the facilitator? Going once? Going twice?
I wouldn't mind helping out if you need a facilitator. I'm pretty familiar with sustainable CT, so
Gotcha.
in the future.
Okay, so Ed, maybe we can rotate and you can do it another time as well, right? Okay,
Sure.
let's have Julia for the first one, or you guys could collaborate if you want to put together some slides or how you want to do it. But let's have Julia be the first one and maybe Ed the second one.
Or Ed, do you want to be the secretary for the first one and then we'll flip?
Sure. Yeah, whatever. I'm
And I'm sorry, are emails part of the information that we've received? They're links?
I have not, we have not shared your emails with each other. We can, and I guess I would ask that you prefer your email not to be shared. Let me know, but I think typically as a advisory member or a commission member, sometimes those emails are published on the website. So we assume that people would be okay with sharing them. Okay. And then I think just to move on, you know, as we do get into a little bit further down the road, I would expect maybe, you know, several people might want to work on the same action together, you know, and like we said, you could collaborate a little bit. I think if they become big subcommittees, as Julia mentioned, those would be subject to the FOIA requirements. But, you know, if you're working on the same action and putting things into a spreadsheet, you know, and one person's working on it and working with another person, that is not kind of a public meeting, I don't think. I would say just use your best judgment. And then in terms of information sharing, you know, I think we'll figure that out as we go along. We do have some information on what the town's done so far. And again, the big spreadsheet that I'm using to track the town's sustainable Connecticut actions for this certification cycle on a Google Drive, so we can share that around if we need to at a later date. We'll definitely share it on the screen at that next meeting. So I think that's all I wanted to accomplish out of administration for this first meeting.
I have a question.
Yeah. Go ahead, Nat.
This is. I'll just quickly. I hear, but we assume that we're going to be just updating what's been developed previously. There won't be new actions. I put the echo what's coming.
Natalie, I'm having a lot of trouble hearing you. Hold on. I think, who is it? There's a lot of feedback. Natalie, can you repeat that again? Sorry, I was having trouble hearing you.
My question, yeah, there's an echo here. I will communicate in another. I'll send you an email.
Okay, thank you.
So can I just ask, this is Lindsay Whitcomb. I'm wondering if, should we have an action plan that we should try to like mentally prepare for the next for the next meeting?
So here we are.
Okay.
So here, kind of this is the final slide of today, was kind of just the next steps. And
I was that this was said and I missed it.
no, that's all right. You led right into it, which was perfect. So the next steps, you know, just 3 for the next meeting. Try, if you can, to familiarize yourself a little bit with the Sustainable Connecticut program. Again, you don't have to become an expert on this. You've all shared kind of your interests, and hopefully we can find a particular action of interest to you that you can help work on. There are some links embedded in here so that you can get to the Sustainable Connecticut website and check out some of the actions, the training opportunities, and that equity toolkit that was mentioned. What I will do is share the list of actions that the town is currently considering. That large spreadsheet, I'm going to think about whether I want to share that entire shed spreadsheet or some kind of listing, what format will be easily digestible for you all, to see kind of the breadth of actions that we're looking at currently. And then at the next meeting, which we just decided is June 16th at 6:30 p.m., which will not be in person. So I don't know then how we'll do this. Maybe we will do something else. Maybe we won't get as far as we want to at the June 16th meeting, but we will at least have a check-in point, because my vision was if we were going to have an in-person meeting, we would actually kind of pick the actions that people wanted to work on and then get into little groups and start to think about how we would document and how we would go about working on those actions. So let me think a little bit more about number 3. And then keep your eyes open for an email from me, and we can go from there. Does that sound like a plan?
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
So I know it's 8 o'clock already, so I know people want to leave. I'll just open it up if anyone has any other questions. Otherwise, feel free to go back to your evening, and I thank you again for taking the time out and volunteering for this opportunity. I think it'll be really fun and well worth your while. So thank you very much. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you, Catherine. That went really well. Thank you so much, everybody, for participating.
Yes, thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Good job. Have a good night.
Good night.
Thank you. So Catherine, I don't think it matters, but I just want to flag that 2 of the Sustainable CT Fellows are my students. So I don't know if like there's a problem with that or no. Okay. I can't hear you, but that's okay. I can see you shaking your head.
Yeah, you're.
We can't hear you.
Unmute. Sorry, Mary. No, I think that's awesome. Yeah. And
All
we
right.
don't know if those will be the fellows that we're working with because they're assigned to a different cog, so they might not be the ones that we're working with. But I think that's great. No, there's no conflict of interest. That's amazing.
All right. Thank you.
Cool. Anyone else still on? I think it's probably just us. Good night.
Good night.
Great job.
Great job.
Bye.